You're listening to the Pants Off Podcast with Clark Bartram and Jeremy Jackson.
CBT's Performance Apparel, where fashion meets performance. Upload your custom design or grab the CBT's Deal of the Week at clarkstees.com. The podcast with CB and JJ is sponsored by Providence Video Productions in Escondido, California, providers of full creative, video, and audio production services. Utilizing state-of-the-art professional equipment for all your broadcast needs. Webpage embedded or live streaming videos and podcasts. Aerial drone videography. Music videos, 3D animation, studio and field production. Contact us at providencevid.com.
What is going on, everyone? You are listening to the Pants Off Podcast with CB and JJ, where we bring you a little bit of everything. We drop knowledge, we drop entertainment, fun, wisdom, and we drop our pants. People are wondering, why is this called the Pants Off Podcast? I guess just because, but JJ couldn't be here today. I have a very special guest host with me today. It happens to be my son, Mitch Bartram. Give it up for Mitch, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear some of that. Like you're good looking. What?
Hey, man.
You got the gene. You got that good looking gene, son. You should be happy for that. Well,
I'm blessed.
You are. You are definitely blessed. So, hey, guys, you're listening to the Pants Off Podcast, and my normal co-host is Jeremy Jackson. You know him from Baywatch, international superstar, amazing guy, and this is dedicated to him today because he could not be here. So, Mitch, with that being said, you going pants off? I'm going pants off. I got to for JJ. Got to do it for JJ.
I feel like it's kind of unnecessary, but
well, it's all. I mean, having your pants off is unnecessary anyway on this podcast. So they're down around my ankles.
Well, for me, I agreed with it because I felt like. I mean, I'll take them off, but the reason I'm saying is because I guess the first time we talked about it, it was like, once your pants are off, you're in a place of vulnerability, and then the conversation, you're more comfortable to go into that vulnerable place. But you're my dad already. I'm with my. I mean.
But we
I
got
live with you.
I get it. We got Facebook Live.
I like my pants though. They're corduroy.
They're corduroy, and they're very nice. And you've been wearing them for like 5 days straight. That's how much you love them. So anyway, Mitch is going to go ahead and get his pants off. So honestly, you know, Mitch just said it himself, and Jeremy came up with this idea to have our pants off during the podcast. So you just kind of take away all of your ego in a sense, right? Even though being in your underwear is not that big of a deal, it does something that really is unique, and we're going to have guests in here, and you know, I'm going to use respect for my wife, but anyway, I'm not going to sit here and explain why, but we do have Pants Off Podcast t-shirts, so if you want to get your hands on one of these, go to clarkstees.com. So anyway, with that being said, Mitch, what do you want to talk about today? I mean, because the last time you were on, I got a lot of good feedback. Yeah. There were a lot of people that really liked what you had to say, and I was very pleased by the fact that people were saying things like, wow, you raised a really good man. This guy seems like he has his act together. He's living life on his own terms. And I think that's probably a good jump off point to talk about today, the fact that you are, you know, a millennial, right? And millennials get a lot of bad, you know, publicity, we'll say, right, for being whatever. How does that make you feel when people say things like about millennials?
Oh, man. Well, for one, I don't have anything else to compare it to because this is the only life that I'm consciously remembering.
Right.
So it's normal to me, but when I hear people saying things like how entitled we are, or I don't know, just that when they say things about us that they don't like, that's fine. And I think that's their opinion. But sometimes when I see those kind of things, it's about like, oh, they quit their jobs, they don't want to do this, they don't want to do that, and they think that blah, blah, blah. I just think that, I can only speak for myself, but I think that a lot of us millennials are realizing that we don't have to live in the old paradigm, and that means that we don't have to do a 9-to-5, or if we are hating our lives because our boss is a D-bag and...
So is that what you're experiencing right now?
No, not at all. Okay, not at all. My boss is cool.
All right.
I have no problems with him.
Okay.
But a lot of people may have just, sucked it up and been like, that's how it is, man. You got to work a 9 to 5 and you hate your life, whatever. I think we're taking our lives into our own hands and realizing that we can create different avenues for ourselves that we will enjoy more and have a healthier lifestyle with. Just, if anything, if not a physically healthier, then mentally and emotionally healthier, because working a job that you can't stand, or, living a way that you don't agree with. Imagine living a way that you don't agree with your entire life. I think that a lot of millennials are just saying, I want to agree with the life that I'm living. And then they're making the choice to move on that thought so they can find a life that they agree with. And I think that it hurts people's feelings along the way because they wish they were doing it too.
I heard this saying yesterday. That's a really good point you bring up. I was listening to Super Soul Sunday, and they had Jack Canfield on there. That's the guy that wrote the book Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yeah.
And he said this quote. He said, it would be a shame to be at the top of the ladder of success and realize you leaned it against the wrong wall.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're saying, is the fact that, if you structure your life around what people think you should live your life by, like my rules, you're in my house and you're going to get a job and you're going to wake up every day. But I feel good in the fact that I kind of set you up to be a quote unquote millennial. One thing that I always taught you and your sister was save your money, have money in the bank. That way you'll never have to be a slave to the lender. Don't get in debt. Don't owe anybody anything. That way, if you decide you want to take off and go to Thailand, you can take off and go to Thailand. And you've been fortunate enough to do that. So I love the fact that you and your sister both are millennials with a cause.
Right.
I think that's the big thing, is you have a cause and you have a purpose. Too often in life, people live their life without a purpose, and that's a bad thing right there. So with that in mind, what do you want to do? What's your next step in life? Where are you heading?
Oh man, I don't know. I feel like I have a vague idea of what the feeling I'm going for is, but I don't know exactly what will provide that feeling that I'm looking for. And that feeling is being able to live a life that I agree with, meaning I want to be able to do basically what I want when I want.
Right.
And I think if my means of income is partially doing what I want when I want, you see all these people like millennials are, are just going out and living cool lives and gaining followings and inspiring people to do that same exact thing. And with that following, they're able to create the income that they want to create because they're creating coaching programs or selling a product or a service or whatever. And they can do that from wherever they want to on earth. And if I can create something for myself like that, then that would be sick.
I look at your buddy Ruben, for example. He's a really good representation of what you're talking about, as are you, but I want to take someone else. I remember him at McKendree University when you guys were there playing football. He was probably a lot heavier than he wanted to be because he had to conform to what a fullback was, or whatever, a tight end. Yeah. He had to be a certain weight. And now when I look at him, he looks happy. He's doing his thing. He has got I guess it's a mission, and it's called Best Day Ever.
Yeah.
And he's putting that feeling out and that energy out to the world. So he is a millennial with a purpose. He is a guy that is on purpose. And that is the type of people that you're surrounding yourself with. And there are a multitude of other people in your circle of influence, or actually not a multitude. Actually, the multitude is being, kind of, those chapters of your life are being closed, and it's getting to be a smaller and smaller circle of influence that you have, because there's only so many people that we know, I think anyone knows in their life, that really is living on purpose. And that's a pretty big statement. I think most of us are just kind of wandering through life, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. And I think that I'm super grateful for the I feel ridiculous with my pants off, man.
Pull them back up. My legs are just sweating.
I'm gonna sit through it, the feeling of it.
Yeah. And that's part of it, brother. It's the discomfort and feeling weird. Like, why are we in our underwear? I don't know. I really don't know. But I think it's making itself more and more obvious. And Jeremy was really onto something with this, because you and I talk about all the time about facing stuff in your life that is uncomfortable. And society has made sitting around in your underwear an uncomfortable thing for whatever reason. But because of that, you always teach me. And listen, guys, I've probably learned more from my son than any other person on this planet. As I open myself up to be a student to what he is learning, I am finding myself growing more and more each day. And one thing Mitch always says, and I'm challenging you with this right now, is just face that discomfort of sitting there in your underwear.
I'm in it, man. Here I am. It's not as uncomfortable anymore now that we said something about it. But what I was going to say is I'm super grateful for I forget why I was bringing this up. I think you said something about like my circle of influence or the people I have in my life or whatever. And I have been pretty secluded for a while now. You know, I have people that I talk to and a couple people that I'll see every once in a while. But for the most part, I kind of just do my own thing and I focus on what I need to be focused on and getting my work done every day, or doing the best that I can to be productive. And I was off of social media for like over a year. It was, I think, January 7th. I got off of social media 2016, and I might have got back on when I was in Ecuador or something to post a couple pictures that I thought people would appreciate. But for the most part, I wasn't in that world at all for over a year, and I was completely unplugged, and it was just crazy. I got back on Instagram.
Did it feel good to be unplugged for that time?
Oh, I was so hesitant to get back on social media because
Well, let's keep it real. He cried. I mean, he called me in his room and he cried.
On social media. That day was really dope. I mean, it wasn't like I got off of social. I mean, it was like an event in my life that was very uncomfortable and I learned a lot from that. That was the, I guess, deciding factor in me staying off of social media for a while. And with that being said, when I got back on it, some of those feelings came back about why I was off. And yeah, it was kind of emotional for me to get back on. And it kind of sounds ridiculous, but it's kind of a vortex of things that you can get sucked into. And I just really wanted to make sure that I was respecting the boundaries that I'm setting for myself, meaning that Instagram and social platforms are for me to spread my business and my message and my being. And it's not about, you know, me scrolling for days and distracting myself and getting into things that I don't need to be getting into, and keeping that productivity in my life, because last thing I need is a distraction to keep me from doing what it is that I want to do. And it's such a good tool, or it's such a big distraction, and it's really ultimately your choice. So I'm making that decision for myself to keep it as a tool. And when I got back on, I posted a picture or whatever. I was thinking, like, what am I going to post? I don't know what to do. How do you post things that people like, you know, cause I like want to have people who enjoy my content, because ultimately I'm going to start growing my business on there. And I was like, okay, what am I going to put? And I started thinking all these things. And I started texting one of my friends, and he's just like, you got to just post something, just start. So I just sat on my bed and first, before I did that, I said my affirmations out loud about how I was going to behave on social media.
That's huge.
And then I wrote it down, and then I had my dad come in the room, and then I spoke it out loud to him. And that's when I started crying. And, yeah, and it was gnarly. And then I got back on Instagram, and I was having that whole thing about what should I post. And then I just posted a picture of my face and said, hey, I'm back on Instagram and I'm building my business. I'm like rebirthing my business as I'm rebirthing myself. And I'm going to school to become a holistic health practitioner. And right now I'm getting certified in massage therapy. So I just got my massage table. If you need a massage, hit me up.
Hit them up.
Yeah.
Tip them good.
Yeah, definitely. Now that I'm on Instagram, I feel like I'm an Instagram person. So at Mitch Bartram is where you can find me. MITCHBARTRAM. And you can like hit me up for, massages or whatever. And then eventually I'm going to have my clothing line on there.
Higher Realm, baby.
Higher Realm. Also, I'll be putting stuff on there about Higher Realm, my brand. So that will be on there shortly. I'm expecting to also... I have an account for my brand as well, but I'm not using it as of now. But that'll be posted up on my Instagram and stuff like that. So at Mitch Bartram, yeah, just like that. It's on the screen. MITCHBARTRAM.
Hit my boy up on Instagram. Seriously, if you want to get a massage by him, he's really good, man. I don't really let a lot of people touch me. And I don't know if that's something I need to deal with. I'm going to counseling tonight. Maybe I'll talk to him about that. But Mitch really, it helps. And I'll admit, I'm the first one. I never really took care of my body in that sort of sense.
Yeah.
I just beat myself up for years. And listen, people, man, get massages and relax and meditate and take care of yourself. We get this all mixed up in this world, man. We think that aesthetics are the end-all, be-all to being healthy, and that's not the truth at all. It's probably the last manifestation of a healthy body is looking a certain way. I know a lot of people who don't look healthy who are very,
Yeah, for sure.
So, but Mitch, let's talk about father-son relationships, parental relationships, because recently, you and I have had the opportunity to speak into some young men's lives that have kind of, come up against some hard places, right? And we all have those places in life. And thank God people believe in us enough to speak into those kids' lives. But, I don't ever really remember having anyone I could talk to as a young person to, deal with some of the issues that young people go through. So with all that being said, how can a dad mess up his kid, man? I try to do my best to be your parent, and do better than my dad did. But, I mean, last time you were talking about how blessed you are and how fortunate you are to be in the position that you're in. I'm grateful for all that. But I think it's important that parents really understand that just because you say something doesn't mean it's the right thing.
Right.
Just because you have a certain set of standards or beliefs or things that you think are the best thing for your kid, they're not always the best thing, and we need as parents to be open to listening. I think parents don't listen enough, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Am I a better listener now than I was before?
What? Yes. To be honest, this is one of the things that I think that I've struggled with about our relationship growing up. And one of the things was that you're way better at now and that you're conscious of now. And that's one of the first steps to making a change is bringing awareness and having the awareness that you even need to make the change. Otherwise, how are you going to do it? So I'm happy that you're aware of it now. But one of the things that I struggled with is it was mostly in like disciplinary situations, but a lot of times that's when I felt like I needed to speak my truth. You know what I mean? And sometimes you didn't want to hear it. And if I was speaking my truth, it was perceived as talking back. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And not
a valid.
I wasn't really allowed. Maybe this is like a skewed perception because of like how I'm looking back at it and the feeling that I have from it. And I'm sure it wasn't like this every time, but I guess something that I hold, like some trauma that I hold from it, is feeling like I wasn't allowed to say what I felt or speak my truth. And it was like I was wrong for that. Like I was talking back, and it was in your words and your perception was the ultimate truth. And I can either agree with that or be punished. You know what I mean? And I think that is the way that a lot of people behave, not even parents, but I'm a recreation leader and I work at elementary schools. So I work with kids all day, every day. And I'm guilty of that as well. And so are, I'm sure everybody. I mean, you tell a kid you want them to do something and they ask why, and it's because I said so or whatever, you know what I mean? You don't let them have their own perception of it or whatever. You just dominate them with yours, and if they don't agree with it, they're in trouble. And I think there should probably be like a balance between allowing a child to have his perception and the way he goes about something and guiding them. But I think that it can kind of box people up when you like kind of force your idea on them, and it'll put that, and then maybe they'll have that idea for the rest of their life, and maybe it's not the one they should have. You know what I mean? So.
Right. Yeah, it's been really interesting to me when you have the opportunity to speak to a kid and hear them, and that just keeps coming up in my spirit. You know, hear them and listen and pay attention to, and not be so I guess prideful in the fact that, look, this is what I'm telling you to do, because we've seen evidence of the fact that that doesn't always work. You know what I mean? And a kid will eventually just shut down and then act out. Yeah. Shut down and then do something that is crying out for attention, like, somebody please listen to me, like threaten to kill themselves or go off and start conducting themselves in ways that they don't even want to, I think.
No, that's just different manifestations of asking or like shouting for help, or
right.
Like, look at me, like, obviously I'm not happy with my life right now, so can you give me a hand? You know what I mean? Because
right.
If you can't speak and tell someone, hey, this is how I feel, or if you feel like you're not capable of speaking and telling someone this is how you feel, it's going to manifest, and you're going to start communicating that same message through your actions or other avenues. I don't know, speaking. If speaking isn't the avenue you can take, it's going to manifest in your actions. Right. And actions are communication. I mean, I just had a training at my job a couple months ago, and we had this really awesome lady come in and teach us about how children's behaviors are all literal communications to us, and we need to take them as such and not, you know, reprimand and severely punish a kid because he is behaving in what we call poorly. That's him doing the same thing as if he was going to come up to us and say, hey, I need help with this because I'm struggling here. Maybe he doesn't know how to use his words, so he's showing you with his actions. And she kind of just brought that to our attention, because I think some of us know that, but she kind of brought that to our awareness that, you know, not everybody speaks with their words.
I was watching a documentary the other day on autism, and, you know, oftentimes autistic child will, you know, hit themselves or do things that we, as quote unquote, you know, able-bodied people would look at like, oh my God, don't do that, when all they're really doing is trying to communicate. That's how they communicate to people. I don't know much about that world, but that's what I saw in that. And then what we do, because of our belief system and the way we communicate, is we try and stop them from doing that. Like, don't hit yourself, when that might bring them relief in some different kind of way that we just really don't understand.
I think there's definitely ways that you can teach someone different avenues of communication that might be healthier, or that might be easier for another person to recognize as communication. Yeah, but I don't really know how to, like, that world either, so I can't say like how you're supposed to deal with that. But I would think that you don't want to shut down someone's communication the way that they're trying to communicate to you, and but you could help guide them to, you know, be speaking in a little bit easier manner. Yeah.
You know, something I've learned here recently is, you know, every relationship is going to come with its challenges. And it's actually you that taught me this, but it's becoming more and more obvious to me the more I'm opening myself up to really understanding what it is. That every relationship we find ourselves in that is a challenge to us, it is 100% about us. It has absolutely nothing to do with the other person. Mm-hmm. It is, what did you call it? A mirror reflection of our own.
Reflection of yourself. Yeah. All of your relationships are a mirror. So if you're in a relationship with somebody who is, maybe they're acting What I mean by the mirror is it doesn't dismiss how that person is acting. Maybe you don't need that person in your life because they are not healthy for you.
Right.
And they're, doing things that are hurtful or irresponsible or untrustworthy or whatever. It's your choice if you want that person in your life or not. What I mean, and what I think people mean when they say that relationships are a reflection of yourself, is if someone does something that, triggers some response in your body that makes you want to react in a certain way, they are not forcing you to do anything, They acted how they acted, and it is reflecting something within you that is an opportunity to, choose how you respond to that feeling. So a reflection of myself in my relationship with you is if you tell me that I need to clean the backyard or something. Maybe I don't like you telling me to clean the backyard because of the tone you had it with, but that's not the problem. What happens inside me is I have this feeling that comes up in my body that's like, oh, this guy just wants me to be his slave, like blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, I don't need to look at you as the problem. If I choose to see you as a reflection of myself, then I'm looking at the feeling that's arising in my chest of anger and frustration, and then I can either choose to react from that and be like, no, you do it. Like, what are you doing today? You're not busy. How about you clean the backyard? Or I can decide, okay, this is an opportunity for me to progress in how I react when this feeling comes up, when this specific feeling comes up. You can do this in every single different feeling that comes up, but okay, when this frustration arises, when my dad tells me to do something, this time, instead of swinging at him, I'm going to be like, all right, I got you, and then go in the backyard and clean it. Or maybe it won't be that easy, and I'll be like, okay, breathe. I'll just go in the backyard and do it. And it's a progression.
As it is for me too, because so we'll take that specific situation, and I think anyone can apply this to their life in any relationship that they have, because it is always a two-way street. So it goes back to what we were saying, this is my house, this is my way, in putting somebody else's, like when I go to do something, I do it right now. Mm-hmm. Like I just get it done. And I've always tried to teach you those things, but you have your way of doing things, and you'll always get it done. So even though that feeling might rise up in you and I might recognize that feeling, it's at that point that I have to recognize that feeling in me as well.
Yeah.
So if I address that feeling in me, like, are you serious right now? You know what I mean? Just get your ass out there and do it, and it'll be over with. So I've been able to evolve to a place where I'm like, okay, I said it. He had a reaction. I recognize that reaction. I'm not going to make that reaction worse by choosing to express my reaction. This is, so it's almost like a tennis match in the sense that it could go back and forth forever. In relationships that are bad, that's exactly what happens. It just continues to go back and forth because we justify in our own mind that feeling that arises in us that is unique and specific to you. And if you manage yours and I manage mine, and we've done that, and me and your mom have done that, and I believe that you've seen that, and that is, to me, better than any word you could tell your kid, like, go do this because that's what I said to do.
Right.
That just shuts everyone down.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely.
I hope people are really getting. Dominic Sabrito joined us here.
Hey, guy.
Hey, guy. When are you going to draw me something, Dominic? I need just a sick design for one of my t-shirts. So think about that. All right. And don't charge me a bunch of money. All right. Don't draw something for me, then charge me afterwards. Okay. So
what is he going to do then?
Huh?
What do you want from him?
A free drawing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's basically what I was saying, is I want something free. So what are some of the things you've been doing in your life, Mitch, that are helping you in your growth process? What are there any tips or suggestions you could give people out there that you've experienced? Because I know you're in the midst of a lot of that right now, and you're really facing a lot of areas in your life that have been hard for you to face in the past, Yeah. So is there any insight you could give to people that you're willing to open up with? Or
really just one of my most guiding principles in my life that we already kind of said a little tiny bit about is discomfort. I mean, we might have even talked about this on the last podcast. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but it's worth talking about again.
Discomfort, for me, is a very good source of growth. And I would almost say that all discomfort is growth. I don't know if that's a false statement or whatever, but what I'm saying is discomfort for me is the source of growth, meaning when I feel discomfort in my body about a certain situation, I allow that feeling of discomfort to be the indicator of the area I need growth in.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go back to the same example. You told me I need to clean the backyard. And
this just happened yesterday.
So yeah, this whole thing is a real
This
thing.
just happened yesterday.
This is not a fictitious example. This is real. That's why it's so funny to me. A feeling arises inside me that doesn't feel good. It's anger. It's frustration. It's not comfortable. It's uncomfortable to me. It's discomfort. Anxiety can be discomfort. Fear, frustration, jealousy, whatever. In that specific example, I had anger arise inside me, and that is an uncomfortable feeling. So I recognized, okay, this is that mother effing discomfort. Thank you. You know what I mean? So that's the green light on saying, hey, Mitch, this is the area that you need to work on in this moment right now. So I just collect myself as best I can. Maybe it's not that fast. Maybe it takes me an hour. Maybe it takes me 30 seconds, because the more I practice it, the quicker the gap shortens. And the more and more the gap shortens every time. It used to take me maybe, I don't know, a couple days until I would apologize to someone or whatever. And then I'll be in like a heated argument and I'll feel that discomfort. And it's just like, hey, Mitch, work here. And then I just flip it. And then I just say, sorry, right there. Instead of, the gap just keeps shortening every time I work on it. So when you feel that discomfort arise in you, next time you see your reflection in a relationship, someone says something to you that makes you uncomfortable, feelings, just like I said, kids are going to maybe communicate in a way that's not through words. Our emotions are not there for no reason. They're communicating to us. So your fear comes up in a situation that says, hey, this is not a safe thing. You need to flee or whatever. It's a fight or flight response. Your fear is communicating to you. It's saying, hey, you need to get out of here because it's not safe. Maybe it's saying something else, but a lot of times that's what fear is saying. Sadness is telling you, oh, this hurts. I don't like the way this feels. This person maybe isn't treating me the way I want to be treated. It is a communication to you. Anger, all sorts of different emotions. And why was I talking about this?
You were talking about facing the discomfort and growing in that. That's been what you've been using lately to have personal growth. And I agree with that 100%, because that's similar to what I'm doing. And I'm just going to be honest with people here right now is people might not believe this, but I have anxiety attacks, man. And it's not a very fun place to be. And they typically happen to me in the middle of the night when you feel all alone and no one's there to help you or save you. And you have to really lean into the fact that it is there to help you do something in your life. And as I'm analyzing those deep, dark, scary places in my life, it's really helped me reflect on the areas, like you said, that I need to concentrate on to become a better person, to become a more loving husband, to become a more attentive father who listens and doesn't just tell, to be someone who actually cares about people in this world, because that's what we do as humans is we evolve. And sometimes you evolve into a place where those fears will rise up into you, whether you want them to or not. And the other night, in the middle of a horrible panic attack, I just sat up. I sat up in it and said, okay, I'm not going to sit here and fight it. And while you fight it and while you're trying to push it away, it only gets bigger and stronger. But the minute you accept it, like you're saying right now, and go, okay, you're here for me. What is it that I can learn? And the second I sat up, 3 nights ago, I was in a hotel room somewhere by myself. I sat up and everything went away.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
It's basically just saying what you said in my words. You're going to have, so maybe you have panic attacks, or you have emotions, and you have uncomfortable emotions. So you can either have those uncomfortable emotions and just be uncomfortable about them and, you know, react out of them and maybe cause more problems with them and more discomfort. And you can just keep being in discomfort and really having no good come from it. Or you can have those same feelings that come up that create discomfort, and then you use them to do dope ass things like better yourself every day.
Well, I did. I mean,
That's what I'm saying to these people is like, you're going to have the feelings of discomfort regardless. It's your choice if you want to feel the discomfort for no reason, or you can feel the discomfort and use it as a tool. And, you know,
that's why I don't believe in medication for panic attacks. And again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not suggesting anyone get off drugs or any of that. That's your business, your choice. But for me, and I'll take you back and give everyone the story of like my first real experience with that. And it devastated me because I didn't understand what was happening. I was on Home Shopping Network, sold out of a product, made a bunch of money. Everything was going fine. But I was in a life cycle phase. My kids were starting to, you know, I think you guys were going into like 6th grade, like the next level, right? It's a phase in my life. So I'm on an airplane watching $1 Million Baby, and out of nowhere, I felt like my tongue was swelling up in my head. My hands were sweating. My feet were sweating. My heart was beating, and I thought I was going crazy. I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought I was going to die on the airplane, and I really thought about jumping out. I was going to jump out of it. It was that bad. God. But thankfully, I had a conversation a week earlier with someone who had a similar situation, and I chose to just sit there and ride it out, and it didn't go away for hours. I got off the airplane. I was in Atlanta, sitting at the train station. I called your mom on the phone and said, I cannot get back on the airplane. I am too afraid. She thankfully talked me through it. I got on the airplane and I came home. And then because I was fighting it, because I didn't understand it, because it was something that I thought was there to punish me and not help me grow to be a better person.
Yeah, that's a big realization right there.
Yeah, I thought it was there to punish me, man. I thought it was there to, but I sat back and I started studying and I started learning. I couldn't even get on a phone call. If I had to do a conversation with 3 people, I had diarrhea all day. I lost my contract on Home Shopping Network because I could not go back.
Oh, what?
I couldn't go back. And that could have been a huge deal for me. So I started going to counseling. I started learning. And thankfully, my counselor was a Christian guy who didn't want to put me on any drugs. And so I started studying the mind, reading and all of that. And here's what happened. One day I was sitting watching Joyce Meyer on television. And she said, where the mind goes, the man follows. And in my spirit, I heard, that's the title of your book. And I'm like, what? My book? I'm not writing a book. And it was like, okay, all of this information that you've gathered through this quote unquote horrible experience was meant for you to deliver that to the world. So no lie, I heard her say that. I got up from our couch, I walked over to my computer, and I sat down and I started writing my book, Where Your Mind Goes, You Go. And it turned out to be a best-selling book. So many people have purchased that thing. It's got like 85 five-star reviews on Amazon.com. And when I look back at what made me write that book, it was a really horrible place in my life then. But now it's like, wow. So I was in that place for a reason. It caused something. So right now, 2 nights ago, I had one. I'm back in a similar place in my life. So guys, look, a lot of people look at me like, oh, Clark's got it all together, this and that and the other thing. I'm a person like you. I am attempting to walk through this world to be the best person I can possibly be and limit who I am more and more every day, because it's not about ego for me anymore. I was battling this morning as I was doing the treadmill thinking, okay, why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. Am I doing it because I want the like, oh, Clark, you're so ripped, you're so this and that? Or am I doing it because it gives me a platform? So if I had to put a ratio to it, 20 years ago, it would be 80% ego, 20% I want to do something with it. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to get to the point where it's 20% ego and 80% I want to do something with it. So I think these panic attacks are reminders of I'm slipping back into ego, and I need a reminder that I have to shed away some of the things that are happening in my life.
Yeah, so thank you to those panic
Thank
attacks,
you.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's something I was going to say. I really liked how you said you felt like you were being punished.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that was a really huge realization for me as well. I feel like when I would go through times where I would feel sad or upset or jealous or fearful, just going through tough times, like I've gone through depressive episodes.
Yeah.
And if that's what you would like to label it.
Yeah.
That's what I guess a lot of people call it.
We'll call them growth episodes.
Growth. Yeah, exactly. That also brings me to renaming things like those for the same exact reason of turning it from a negative thing to a positive thing, from a punishment to a blessing, and an opportunity to grow. Like I don't call anxiety attacks. I call them knowledge encounters.
Yeah, we really need to rename things.
Yeah,
man.
no doubt. Language is super important. And for example, if I am sitting in my room and I have what some would call anxiety rising in my chest because of whatever reason, I think that if, at least for me, if I was to call it an anxiety attack, I would, I can perceive it how I want to now, but at the time I would maybe be thinking like, oh, this is a punishment because I'm not doing something, like something's wrong with me.
Right.
And I shouldn't be feeling this way. I'm wrong for feeling this way. Somewhere I messed up and now I'm feeling anxiety and I'm bad. You know what I mean? And I think that you can like look at yourself as like you went off the path and now you're feeling terrible. And I don't think that. I think that you can I think that what it's there for, these feelings are all communications. Instead of thinking it is a punishment, it's truly something that is telling you, hey buddy, this is an area that you can work on a little bit for your goal of being better every day. So
or to get you back on the path.
Or to get you back. Well, I think you're always on the path.
Right. You're on
yeah, for sure. But it's a blessing. Like if those feelings weren't there, you wouldn't have anything to nudge you towards what you need to work on. And then at that point, what path would you be on? It'd be like this super vague, ambiguous thing. But with these feelings that are coming up, it's kind of something that like, I guess it's like bumpers.
Yeah.
I guess if you want to say it like keeping it on the path, that's cool. That's why I call anxiety attacks knowledge encounters, because I think that changes the whole connotation around it. Like, okay, I'm in this knowledge encounter right now to encounter knowledge. It's uncomfortable, but growing is uncomfortable. You can't be growing in comfort. That's why you're not bench pressing air. You're bench pressing weight, and it hurts your muscles and it creates discomfort. And that discomfort creates growth in so many different aspects. I think in all aspects, it's a microcosm. Working out is a microcosm of emotional, spiritual, mental growth. You know what I mean? So
we could do an entire series of podcasts on this concept and idea of anxiety, because so many people in today's world, and it's a lot due to social media as well. And I think a lot of millennials are dealing with this more than even, I don't even know what my generation, I'm a baby boomer. I think I'm on the tail end of that. Are dealing with, because it's just another layer of things. Like you had some really serious knowledge encounters because of social media in relationships, and why don't you, I don't know how many kids are going to see this, but I know there are parents on here saying, I love this. Your mom just said, we have a friggin' smart kid. Love you, boy. So there will be parents that will share this hopefully with their kids. And we have no time limit here, so I'm not going to try and restrict us to any sort of thing, because it's our podcast. So
what about Boardman?
Oh, 1 o'clock. Yeah, we got 1 o'clock. We got to be back. But I want you to really speak to other millennials out there that are caught up in social media, and specifically, like targeting a relationship and getting just sideways because they see certain things happening, and it affects them in a way that really ultimately is going to help, right? It helped you, but in the middle of that, it feels real shitty.
So what is your question? What is your...
I guess the question is, maybe share a little bit some of what you went through with social media and how it affected you in a negative way, because there are probably parents out there listening going, my kid is in the middle of that right now,
so
and I don't know what to do.
I used social media as a tool to almost sabotage my health. And it was like on purpose. I felt like...
Wow.
I mean...
Your mental health?
Yeah, my mental health. And it was just getting to a point where, I guess I'll just get super real with it. I was in a relationship where things were kind of in a tough spot. And then my mind started wandering with, issues of trust and things like that. So I started searching and kind of like, what do they call it? Like cyber lurking or something.
Right. Cyber stalking. Or...
Yeah. I was gonna keep it at lurking, but I guess you could drop that one on it. Thank you. And it was like, I have a homeopathic doctor who prescribes me remedies and stuff like that. If you don't know what homeopathy is, it's pretty amazing and you should look into it. I'm not going to explain it, but he was finding my symptoms, and your symptoms are not just like sniffling nose. It's like emotional symptoms, mental symptoms, and stuff like that. And one of my symptoms was meaning symptoms. It just means one of my habits or something I was doing,
right.
Means that I was
a manifestation of something internal.
Exactly. It was like feels jealousy, but I forget exactly how it was worded, but searches for that feeling.
Oh.
Like I was looking for ways to get like pissed off, and I was finding them left and right. You know what I mean? And it just like fucked me up. Yeah. And it got to a point where I needed to get off of social media, and I had to encounter a situation that kind of really said, hey, stop behaving this way. So
which was discomfort.
It was a lot of discomfort.
Yeah. So that just reinforces what we've been saying out there. So if there's a kid out there that's kind of caught up in that right now, and again, we've had the privilege of speaking into some young people's lives, with that experience and with the experience that you went through, what would you say to somebody out there to give them some hope, give a parent some hope that it's going to be okay? What can a parent do? What could a kid do? In
what situation?
In a situation where social media has really got somebody sideways and messed up.
I guess one of the first things that I have to say about social media in general, especially when I'm thinking about because I think that older people use it in a slightly different way, and maybe in a more honest way,
right? Of
wanting to stay in touch with their buddies.
And that's my point.
You know what I mean?
It's a different animal.
Yes, but I don't think that's the case for maybe my generation, and I almost know that's not the case for generation that's younger than me, because they're in touch with all their people. They're in school with all their people. You know what I mean? And maybe they have friends that are in another state because they moved or something, but you can text them and stay in touch with them and stuff like that. I think that a lot of times people are on social media. They call it for clout, which means you're on there just to be cool and to have a cool persona that you want people to see and recognize as, oh, there's that guy who's cool. If you're not running a business, or if you're not trying to spread a message or trying to reach people or network because you're trying for whatever reason, and you're on there just because you want to post pictures of your new shoes, or because you are you think you're posting a swaggy picture or something, and you're getting girls or dudes or whatever, and you're just on there. I think a lot of people are on there for what is the word? Just basically so they can have people say they're cool. What is the word I'm looking for? Validation. Validation. Thank you. That's the exact word. I think a lot of people are on there just for validation.
Mm-hmm.
And
likes, comments.
Likes and comments, and it's what is the point of that? And I know I'm guilty of that as well, but I really just want to ask you, why are you on Instagram? Why are you on social media? If it's not for building something that's going to like better your life,
or putting a message out
or helping people, there's no reason for you to be on there unless you're honestly using it to stay in touch with friends that you would never stay in touch with otherwise, which if they're really stay in touch with worthy, then you would probably be staying in touch with them. I just don't know. Like,
yeah.
If it wasn't for me having a business and really wanting to, because Instagram and social media is a massive, maybe the most massive tool for that in this day. So I want to take advantage of that. But if it wasn't for me having a business or having a message that I want to speak to the people and, you know, spread and support other artists and have those artists support me and just embrace each other and hold each other up and love each other and help each other on our journeys, there would be no reason for me to be on there. Because otherwise you're just scrolling on people's feeds,
right?
And
wasting time.
And you're just wasting time. You're distracting yourself. Like, why are you on social media?
So that's a good question to ask yourself: is why are you there? Some people might be too young for that, but I think for the people that are old enough to really get that, you should ask yourself that question: why am I here, and what do I want from it? And if there's lacking something, then it really is a matter of going back to your parent and having that conversation. And the parent needs to be open enough to listen to that, because again, that's just another way of acting out. That's just another way of seeking the attention that they might be lacking somewhere else. So anyway, our feed keeps going away and we're having some technical difficulties here. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for the day, and, you know, just really encourage everybody out there to take a step back, take a deep breath, and really think about everything that's been placed in front of you and what you can get from it, what sort of lesson you can learn, how you can take that situation and turn it into a growth opportunity so you can become more of what you want to be in this world and give more encouragement and excitement to your circle of influence. So, Mitch, you got anything you want to say in closing?
Thank you guys for listening and taking time out of your day to hear what we have to say. I hope you guys have learned a little bit and appreciated it. And I don't know, I like being on these, and I look forward to next time. And I love you guys, and I hope that you have a great day. That's it. Peace.
There you go. That's it, you guys. As always, make it a great day.
You're listening to the Pants Off Podcast with Clark Bartram and Jeremy Jackson.
CBTs, Performance Apparel, where fashion meets performance. Upload your custom design or grab the CBTs Deal of the Week at clarkstees.com. The podcast with CB and JJ is sponsored by Providence Video Productions in Escondido, California, providers of full creative, video, and audio production services. Utilizing state-of-the-art professional equipment for all your broadcast needs. Web page, embedded or live streaming videos and podcasts. Aerial drone videography. Music videos, 3D animation, studio and field production. Contact us at providencevid.com.